Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Inside. I am Babler Jonathan. Another atrocity has been recorded within the context of the more than 8-year-long armed conflict region in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. 6 persons, 6 young persons killed in Pinyin in the northwest region by armed men dressed in military uniform. The armed men stormed a local drinking spot in Mamben neighborhood on the night of Sunday, 23rd February 2025 and gunned down the 6 young men. And after the incident, the traditional ruler of Pinyin in the Santa subdivision northwest region of Cameroon, His Royal Majesty Kenneth Asobo III, has exalted his subjects to remain united and to continue working for a better future. We are looking at the situation on ground, and of course we are looking at all efforts that are being made to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken, predominantly English-speaking regions of the country, and provide lasting solutions to the decade-old Anglophone problem. Recently, the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists, CCFGA, got into an agreement with other groups, notably groups in connection to the Anglophone crisis, to agree on a way forward, on a way out of the impasse in the two English-speaking regions of the country. And we are looking at the federal option in this edition of The Inside, plus issues concerning the forthcoming presidential election. There have been cries, notably from the opposition, over what is qualified as pre-election fraud maneuvers, allegedly masterminded by the elections organizing body, Elections Cameroon. The Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM, which is the ruling party in Cameroon, the administration, and even the police is mentioned, notably in a statement released recently by the national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto. And the CCFGA has written an open letter to the elections organizing body, Elections Cameroon, over what it qualifies as the marginalization of Anglophones, even in the electoral process. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest in this edition of the program is Michael TAKI. Is a Federalist, chairperson of the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists, CCFGA, and he's joining us from London in the United Kingdom. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan Babila. It's always a pleasure being with you, and also I would like to say good day to your fellow listeners. Thank you for having me.
Let's start by having your comments on this latest incident recorded in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country within the context of the more than 8-year-long armed conflict raging there. 6 young persons killed by armed men dressed in military uniform in Pinyin, the Santa subdivision in the northwest region.
Yes, Jonathan, thank you very much once again. I think every single life lost is a tragedy. Unfortunately, it's almost being normalized, especially within the north and southwest regions. Lives are being lost, even the ones that we don't even know about. A lot of atrocities are being committed. And this is as a result of a war. Even though the government would say there's no war, or they would say they are putting things in control, or they've put everything in control. This is not necessarily true. Otherwise, such news would not be coming up. So it's getting out of hand, and I think it's a tragedy that we are losing loved ones, especially young people, through a fight which is unfounded to me. and from the Federalist perspective. And unfortunately, we cannot really pinpoint exactly who is behind all these atrocities. Some say it's men dressed in military attire and or whatnot. And unfortunately, we have a situation where the level of chaos is beyond manageable. And again, like I said, the government will always tell you that everything is in control. This is not true. And we strongly ask the government to investigate these atrocities. And yes, if they want to prove that they are in control, let them bring the perpetrators into book. Let them bring them into justice.
It is increasingly becoming difficult to know who is doing what. The incident recorded in Pinyin, we're not talking about armed men. We're talking about armed men dressed in military uniform. And it is difficult to know who committed the act until an investigation is carried out, a proper investigation for the perpetrators to be clearly identified. In the meantime, the President of the Republic is persisting in the military perspective of solving the Anglophone conflict. In his message to young people on the 10th of February 2025, he said that after calling on those who are still carrying guns and fighting in the bush to drop their guns, he said that those who will refuse to do that will have an unpleasant fate, pointing to continuous military action, military crackdown, the soldiers tracking down and killing separatist fighters. What's your perspective on this?
I think the government got it wrong. The government got it absolutely wrong. The government got it extremely wrong, and I would say the separatists also got it wrong. All right? The problem we have in Cameroon is not a problem that needs a violent solution. The government is supposed to be the one to protect the people. Yet they send the military against the very people that they are supposed to protect. Right? The military, the main reason why governments employ military is to combat against international enemy. You cannot send your own soldiers to fight against your own people. We have the police. If it is a fully functioning system, the judiciary will be there to hold people into account. On the other hand, the Federalists, the independentists, or they call them the separatists, they also got it wrong, because you cannot defeat an army, you cannot defeat an organized army in such a manner, all right? And to add a little bit more, Cameroon as a country, as a state, cannot be defeated by a faction of armed groups. However, even the strongest government in the world can be defeated by a national civil internal unrest. No matter how strong a government is, evidence is proven that they can be brought down by a civil unrest. Right? So this is something which the government, as I say now, got it completely wrong. They can never win this. Nobody's winning. All right? You cannot be killing people and think you're winning. You never win by killing someone. So the government, from the perspective of the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists, we condemn the actions of the government. We also condemn the actions of those who pick arms. Some of them are not even, I would say, separatist fighters. They're just armed groups. So you see that when you have a situation where there is chaos, you hardly know who is who. You can even have people mask themselves. Even your own friends can mask themselves and come against you. You would not be able to recognize them. And to make matters worse, a government that is so disorganized within and amongst themselves, they cannot even investigate some of these crimes. Because either they investigate, they themselves, they cause a lot of, I would say, they cause a lot of atrocities, either knowingly or unknowingly. So when you take the soldiers from the barracks to come and fight the very people that they protect, I think this is something that is shameful. You don't recruit soldiers to come and fight against the citizens, the civilians. Soldiers, you recruit them to defend the country internationally against any international attacker. So it was a very wrong move that the government of Cameroon made. And even though they were the one who started, attacking the very people that they're supposed to protect, unfortunately, the separatists too retaliated, which kind of spiraled the whole situation since from 2017 to today, and nobody's winning.
Recently, CCFGA got into an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with other groups. I think about 3 other groups. Can you tell us the purpose of this agreement?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very, this question is very important, both to our listeners. The coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists was approached by the Southern Cameroons Alliance. Southern Cameroons Alliance is a group or a coalition of separatist group, or I would say independentists. So they came together and formed the Southern Cameroons Alliance. And they invited the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists to take part in a conversation that led to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. It is based on the realization that we both have the same issue. They are fighting the same, I will put in quote, enemy as us, as a Federalist activist. So we threw the Memorandum of Understanding, and after a couple of days of working together, we realized and accepted that, yes, we may have different destinations, but we are going towards the same direction. And when I mean different destinations, they believe, the independentists believe, that the north and southwest regions of Cameroon should be independent of the rest of the country, while the Federalists, including coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists, believe that what our people need, if properly, I would say if properly packaged, would be enough in a federal system of government. And as we're going to be discussing about federalism and what that means, it is important to note that we believe that there is nothing that would make us change our position. We know, we have heard something, we Federalists are just transitioning from the position to become independentists. That is absolutely false. There is absolutely no position that we are transiting, or we want federalism so that in the end we will go to independence. No. So the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists believe in one nation federated, and the independentists, they have their own goals. But we know that the common enemy, we have common interest, all of us. And our problem, our common interest is the freedom and the complete, I would say, autonomy for our people. And when I mean our people, the people of North and Southwest regions. But from the Federalist perspective, we also understand, and we're working with our Francophone brothers and sisters. If they think this is, we want them to understand federalism has nothing to do with separation of the country. So we are working with the separatists I beg your pardon, with the independentists, I would like to put it that way, rather than the separatists, the independentists towards, I would say, liberating our people. Thank you.
What do you put in liberating our people? Liberating our people from what?
Yes, thank you very much. Now, when we say liberating our people, we want them to be free of the system that has actually, I would say, captured everyone in one bundle. The nation of Cameroon does not really give enough freedom to the people. For example, there's no freedom of protest in Cameroon right now. And I'm sure if I was in Cameroon now, somebody will be ready to question me, not even questioning me. They will not even question me. I may even be, detained for my own view or my own opinion. So freeing people means giving them that autonomy to be able to express themselves freely, to be able to vote or elect whoever they want to govern them. But today in Cameroon, we have a decentralized state that is focused on appointing whoever looks after the people. Whether they like it or not, it's like forced onto them. So we are looking at a system where people will be free, people will be able to express themselves, not only by, not only by murmuring behind, but also by being able to talk in the public.
Now, a section of the agreement reads, the partnership respects ideological differences while fostering a common vision. It establishes a framework for dialogue, consensus building, and a united international engagement to seek a genuine and lasting solution to the conflict. When you talk about respecting ideological differences, and then you talk about a common vision, how do you intend to reach that common vision while respecting ideological differences? We know that some of the groups are standing for outright independence for former British Southern Cameroons and nothing else. And CCFGA is standing for federation, a return to the federal system in the nation, Cameroon.
Thank you very much. I think now that this is the thing. The independentists, they think the only way they can live in Cameroon is by having their own independent state. Their own opinion. That is the ideological opinion. From the Federalist perspective, we tell them, okay, fine, if that is what you want, it's okay. But we want federal system of government. Now somebody would say, oh, these are two antagonistic positions. How can you work together? We can. Why are these people looking for independence? Why are they advocating for total independence? It is for the people, the civil, the local people, community. It is for our community. Why are the Federalists advocating for federation? They are doing so on behalf of the same community that the independentists are advocating for independence for. Whichever way you look at it, Federalists believe strongly that while their own ideologies stay with them, they also have to understand from our own perspective, we have a belief that the best system that would work for us will be federalism. We are fighting for federalism via a non-violence method, which we advocate strongly that using the people's power, this is how we're going to attain our federalism. And we believe that whatever the independentists are looking for, to us, we are satisfied that everything that is there is found in a true federal system of government. Take, for example, we have in the UK here, the government in Downing Street The parliament has people from Scotland. Excuse me. The Scottish, they always want, a couple of years ago, they had a referendum where they were advocating to separate the parliament completely, to have the Scottish independence. That doesn't stop them from working with the central government in London here. They have their opinion. It's some of them believe that they want a separate independent Scotland. Inside that very Scotland, there are people who say, no, we don't need independent Scotland. After all, this is what we need from the central government. That is exactly what our memorandum of understanding is seeking. We are seeking a federal system that will satisfy every single Southern or former Southern Cameroonian. The independentists, on the other hand, they want independence for everybody in the former Southern Cameroon, which is something that with us, the Federalists, it's not popular. However, we know and agree that these ideological differences can stay in one roof. Like the case I just mentioned, the Scottish case. They can stay in the same, can still harbor in the same one roof, under the same roof, while each person understandably advocate for their own position.
All right, Michael TAKI, I want us to go to the newsstands right now, and we are taking a look at what the newspapers reported this week. And when we come back, you'll tell us more about the federal option that the CCFGA and other entities like the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, have been preaching for several years now. Press review. Now we begin the press review with the National Post, and the National Post reports the killing of 6 persons in Pinyin in the Mezam Division, northwest region of the country. The median newspaper, Broken Promises, Development Neglect by Government. Agbobala laments complacency, greed of Anglophone political elite. The civil society leader, Barrister Agbobala, highlighting what he qualifies as complacency and greed of Anglophone political elite in the problems in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. And the Horizon newspaper reports that popular protest is proposed as key to liberate Cameroon from the bad situation in which it finds itself today, as courts deliberate lack of jurisdiction over pre-electoral dispute. Popular protest is proposed as key to liberate Cameroon. The Herald Tribune also highlights statements from Barrister Agbo Bala, founder and chairperson of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, Chad. Agbo Bala urges traditional rulers to quit politics, and he said this after the traditional leaders of the southwest region of the country, under the umbrella of the Southwest Chiefs Conference, called on the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, to launch his campaign for the forthcoming presidential election in the southwest region of the country, and he's telling the traditional authorities to quit politics. Upcoming presidential election, Royal Fathers Crusade launch of Biya's campaign in the southwest region. The Chronicle Times highlights the call from the traditional leaders of the southwest region on the President of the Republic, asking him to launch his campaign in the southwest region. News Watch: Mba Acha urges Anglophone crisis IDPs to be peace ambassadors. Minister Mba Acha Rose is reported in Newswatch to have urged internally displaced persons forced out of their homes by the conflict, the violence in the northwest and southwest regions of the country to Garwa in the north region of the country to be peace ambassadors. That is what came from the Supreme State Audit Minister Mba Acharos during her visit to the locality of Garwa, to the capital of the north region of the country. Cameroon Tribune now indicates or raises concerns about fake news in connection to the electoral process, and the paper says that ahead of the presidential election, Cameroonians have to pay attention, have to be careful with fake news. Cameroon echoes Mahimen chieftaincy dispute goes chaotic as chief priest accused of desecrating tradition. The paper notably reports the chieftaincy conflict in Mahimen in the southwest regions of the country, indicating that the situation is worsening as a result of what is qualified as desecration of tradition by the chief priest of the village. Municipal updates at audience with Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote. UN pledges more support for Northwest and Southwest reconstruction. And another issue of municipal updates reports that in connection to the designation of Iyole Molinge as Bonganjo Wonjo chiefs, community leaders have petitioned the Minister of Territorial Administration to annul the prefectural order. And another issue of Cameroon Tribune highlights the reconstruction of the far north region of the country and says that the first steps are already visible. The fruits of the first steps of reconstruction in the crisis-stricken region are already visible. The Post newspaper, Cameroon's abusive coach firings since 2011 cost taxpayers francs CFA 2.3 billion. And the paper goes further to indicate how Samuel Eto'o, president of the Cameroon Football Federation, humiliated sports minister for opposing Conceição's contract termination, and prime minister foresaw trouble, recommended dialogue, but was ignored. Another issue of municipal updates at Yaoundé Economic Confab. PM salutes Tony Elumelu's economic ingenuity. Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote congratulating the Nigerian businessman, Africa's economic giant, Tony Elumelu, for his ingenuity. Now another issue of the Guardian Post newspaper, Valentine Nkwine. How art the mighty fallen? The Victoria United president has been banned from football-related activities, also fined 10 million francs CFA for issuing threat to referees. And we wrap up with The Dawn. The paper is highlighting the winners of the 2025 edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. And the paper reports that the 2025 edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope was nothing short of thrilling, bringing surprises, excitement, and intense competition. Thank you for staying with us. We are still with our guest, Michael TAKI, chairperson of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, CCFGA, joining us from London, United Kingdom. Michael, tell us more about this federal option, which you have been preaching for several years now.
Yes, Babila, thank you very much for this question again. This is I would say one of the best part of this our discussion this afternoon. Federalist option. It sounds, as I said before, to most of our Francophone brothers, or some of our Francophone brothers, they think it's a stepping stone towards, I would say, towards a separation. It's absolutely not. Federalism is a system of government where government is shared, or governance is shared between the government, or the local government and the people, and also the national government.
One second,
So
please. If you can hear me, you need to shift backward a little bit. Just maintain that position.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, please.
As I was saying, federalism is a system of government that involves sharing of power. It's the best kind, I would say, of decentralization. Let me use that word because that's a word that is common with our people in Cameroon, because the government or the regime is using the word decentralization. That is not the same thing. The government of Cameroon is using a unitary decentralization, which is the same unitary state or unitary system. But federalism is completely the opposite of that. It gives the maximum autonomy to the people. It gives the people a voice. It gives the people that ability to involve or to be involved in the way their system or the way their activities are run. It brings power more to the people. It shares power with the people, as opposed to decentralization or a unitary state where the government has all the power. The central government has, the police have, the army have everything. But with federalism, it is the best, most contemporary kind of government that I would say any civilized nation needs to exhibit. There are some countries that don't necessarily, I would say, they practice federalism, but don't really, they don't practice, they preach federalism, but don't necessarily practice federalism. There are a few of them, even in Africa. But what I'm here today to tell our listeners, especially Cameroonians in general, is the fact that federalism is the best system of government. I would say after this 42 years plus that we've been under the shackle, under the bondage of this regime, federalism is a breath of fresh air. It gives you the power to elect and vote your own leaders. You vote your governors, you vote for your divisional officers, just the same way you vote for your mayors. So it devolves its power right down to the grassroots. That is what federalism is. It is not a system of government as we have today, where I would say somebody will leave my village and go right to Yaoundé only to go and chase their pension, for example. That is not the case. With federalism, you stay right where you are. Services are brought right where you are. You are involved in the decision making in whatever activities are along within your local area. The people have a lot of accountability. You hold everyone into account. It avoids tyranny, where you have, a leader who would have everything in their hand. Federalism says, no, you have your own level of operation, and then the other person has their own level of operation. If you have, for example, the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, we already exhibit a system of federation within our federalist activities, whereby everything is devolved to every single member within the federalist institution.
Now, do you think a federalism
system of government is a system of government that gives power more, or shares power, not necessarily giving, but sharing power between the national, the local, and the people.
Right. Do you think
has
that
to say as to how they are being governed or run?
Right. So, do you think that a return to the federal system of government will put an end to the killings, destruction, other atrocities going on, the violence, will put an end to the conflict at this point? Do you think if the President of the Republic were to come out today and make a speech and say, okay, we are returning to the federal system, will the guns go down?
I think without any iota of doubt, if the government of Cameroon were to call the English-speaking regions, I would say call the North and Southwest region into a talk and say, here is federalism, I can guarantee you almost immediately, if it is true federalism, the conflict will end immediately. It will end. In federalism, and it would not only end it there. I think to an extent, if a true federal system is given or is portioned for the North and Southwest region, I can certainly say even the whole idea about, I would say, independence would struggle to be popular. So even since 2016, if you remember, when this conflict started, when the consortium of which was being chaired by
Barrister
Agbobala, yes, Barrister Agbobala at the time, that was one of the key discussions that was on the table. If it was given at that time, we would not be here. I can guarantee you that 100%. We would not be here. And when I mean given, I mean true federation in good faith, we would not be here. True federation with a federal constitution or a true federation that respects constitutional democracy, we would not be here. I can guarantee you that 100%.
Now, what is CCFGA proposing? A return to the initial federal structure that was dissolved, two-state federation. Some other persons have been talking about 10-state federation and things like that. What is CCFGA proposing?
Thank you very much. That is a question that is under discussion and is always evolving and is going on within the Federalist. Now, inside our Federalist discussions, and this is one of the beauties of federalism, or the coalition of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists, every single individual, every single member has a voice. You have a voice, and that voice must be democratically listened to. Every single person, regardless of your position in the society, you have a voice. We listen to all these voices. We go even into ballots, in some cases, to make sure the voices are free and fairly represented. There is this conversation. Some are asking, or some support a 10-state, some even go as far as saying 4 states. But the core values that CCFGA puts forward is that we would rather prefer a federal system that respects the 1961 to 1972 agreement. The two Cameroons came together. Those are the two core values. We would respect, or we would almost straightforward, I want to say that federation is the one which we would prefer. And it doesn't mean, when I say so, it doesn't mean that discussions cannot go on. We continue discussions and until everybody is absolutely satisfied. And I'm not saying a group of people sit and choose or decide what kind of federation it is. No. And that is the beauty with us, is that we are trying to listen to every single voice. But we all know, all Cameroonians understand absolutely clear that historically, there are two Cameroons that came together. We cannot hide this fact. Even if we did not exhibit the full benefit of a federal system, that was the intention from the start. And that is what CCFGA is saying, regardless of the various opinions, let us revisit our history, and then we consider the contemporary nature of the country. There we will find a very clear direction to go. But I think, personally, and as the chairperson of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, Cameroonians should understand that federation has nothing to do with separation. That's the first thing. And then secondly, Cameroonians should know, I think by now, through the education that has come as a result of the present conflict, a lot of our brothers and sisters of the Francophone origin have actually understood where the Anglophones are coming from. That there were two Cameroons that came together. Let's revisit that agreement. If there are any amendments, let us start from there. That is where we talk about the root cause of the crisis. So in terms of federal state, if the government was actually smart enough, or I would say any government that comes in 2025, if they are smart enough, they should not be afraid to talk about federation as a means to completely, I would say completely, almost instantly solve the Anglophone question, because that is where everything started. If they were to go and visit the root cause, these people in good faith, if they were to visit the root cause in good faith, this issue will be resolved almost instantly. And without doubt, I know that it is, I would say, a very smart leader in Cameroon, a smart government, a smart president should understand that the people of Cameroon have been through a lot for the past 40-something years plus. Things have evolved. The country has evolved. People listen. People have learned. There's nothing that can be hidden anymore. People know their history. If you know your history, you will know, or say, if you know where you're coming from, that will determine where you're going to. And if you do that in good faith, success is always very, very close to you. So we are saying again, once and again, that the federal system of Cameroon that we CCFGA advocate for is the one that respects the history and the contemporary nature of our country.
And many Cameroonians are hoping that a smart leader will emerge from the 2025 presidential election who will bring about some of these changes and solve the multiple problems affecting the country from north to south, east to west. But ahead of the election, the presidential election, there have been cries, notably within the ranks of the opposition, voices raising against what the opposition politicians qualify as pre-electoral fraud maneuvers, notably by the elections organizing body elections, Cameroon.
from Elekam in these cases. We have all these normal system to go and experience, to go and, of course, security agents that are the people. These are supposed to be minutes and assuming that without even investigate how in this area. This is what happens. They don't. The Elekam is supposed, Dr. Esos, that is it is his duty, it's his responsibility. Show that every camera has this all the necessary for regulation. So that is it. That's going on in the nations.
Before we wrap up, Michael, time to have your thought. The president. People have thought that our president was a francophone, the second thing for language, but now that in the forming president election, it would do great to the active of.
Thank you. That question is I think that is the solution. We need is for our institutions. I'm absolutely clear that historically there are two Cameroons that came together. We can